Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Guided Summit, where we're learning to harness intuition and create powerful decisions. I am your host, Kim Lyday, board certified music therapist and holistic healing coach, and it is my deep pleasure and honor to welcome our guest today, Laara. Laara is a spiritual influencer, a healing practitioner, author of the international bestsellers Little Book of Light Codes and Light Codes for the Soul, and developer of Fractaline Healing. Laara combines cutting edge healing methods and frequencies with ancient teachings and techniques to assist people in aligning with their optimal life path. So, welcome, Laara. I'm so excited that you're able to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an absolute pleasure to be here.
So, Laara, when we were speaking before, you had shared with me that all of the great things in your life that have happened really happened because you learned how to listen to your intuition, which is what we're learning about in this summit is how to listen and make those decisions. And all of the not so good things in your life happened because you were not listening to your intuition. So, what would you say what role has intuition played for you in your life as you've navigated learning how to hear it, trust it, and make these decisions throughout your life?
Yes, oh, intuition has been a massive thing in my life. And I have to say, like, it's it's something that I've had to develop over time and to learn how to trust it. I think that I always had intuition. I believe that everybody has this intuitive instinct. But it's just really honing in on it. And how I have learned how to hone in on it is through trial and error, essentially. So there have been times when, like you say, things went really well because I did tap into that intuitive instinct. And then other times where I've actually had some really tragic unfoldings because my intuition wasn't listened to by either myself or by others, even respecting my intuition. So
Yeah. Do you have any stories that you would want to share in either direction? Either like a really great, awesome thing that's happened in your life as a result of listening, or a not so happy thing that's happened.
well, why don't I do a downer story first, and then we'll end on an up note.
Sounds great.
All right. So the first one that I really remember, I was a young teenager. I think I was about 14, and I had got my first puppy. And this was a Whippet puppy, and she was cuter than a button, a little black and white thing, bundle of joy. And I was also riding horses. And so I had my pony and I had my puppy, and life was pretty freaking awesome. But I'm heading to a horse show with my parents, of course. I'm 14, And I just had this feeling that the puppy shouldn't come to the horse show that day. And my parents were relatively experienced dog owners. And so they knew the importance of socializing the puppy and getting puppies out to different situations. And in that, horses were going to be and were already a big part of our lifestyle. We thought, oh, it's really good that the puppy comes to the horse show and experiences this for the first time. But I had this sinking gut feeling like this wasn't a good idea on this particular day. And I said to my parents, I don't think Heidi should come today. She can come tomorrow, but she can't come today, and I don't know why. But please, she can't come. And my parents kind of argued with me, but eventually kind of caved in, and said, all right, we'll leave the puppy at home. So we go to the horse show, and I'm riding my pony and everything's going well. And then I noticed that my dad's gone. And I said to Mom, oh, where did Dad go? And he said, well, we went to get Heidi. And I was like, what are you? No, this can't happen. This can't happen. And she's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And this was before the day of cell phones. So it's not like she could call him and say, like, just don't do it. So he arrives back with the puppy. I'm still riding because the house was only a short different distance from the horse show. And all of a sudden I realized both my parents have disappeared. And so I turned to one of the horse show moms who was with our group and I said, "Where did my parents go?" And she said, "Oh, Heidi had an accident. I think she fell off the bleachers or something. So they've just taken her to the vet to make sure she's okay." And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm literally sitting on my pony in this horse show situation. So we get done with the showing and I get off the pony. And then my mom comes up to me and she says, "I have to tell you something. Heidi was kicked in the head by a horse and she has to be put down." And of course, I lost it, right? And for a long, long time, it took a long time, actually years, for me to come to terms with this, to recover from this, to heal from this. But that was a really big lesson for me, that when I have this really strong intuition, and it's a gut feeling, it's a knowing, it's physical sensations, it's all kinds of different ways that it can come through. I have to listen to it because something like that could happen. The good thing about all of that is that if you believe in reincarnation the way I do, I was at the SPCA trying to find a kitten years and years later, like I'm in my 20s, like 25, but it's almost 10 years later or so. And this kitten is meowing, 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 and I pick her up, and clear as day, and this is one of the only times I've ever heard something like clairaudience, she looks at me straight in the eye and says, "I'm Heidi." And of course, I burst into tears, and it was like, well, this kitten's coming home with me. So that was really cool. And then a really interesting intuition story, which I sometimes forget about, but it's really powerful, is I was on a flight to Germany, leaving Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver Island, Canada. And so all the major flights are coming out of Vancouver. And I didn't want to get on the plane. Did not want to get on the plane. I was thinking, I love flying. I want to go to Germany, but there was something about getting on this plane and I was freaking out. Like, I don't want to be on this plane. So we get on the plane and I'm thinking the whole time, I want off, I want off, I want off. We haven't even taken off yet. Then next thing you know, there's like people walking down the aisleway, like all dressed in like mechanical gear and stuff, like, they're wearing the vests and everything. And I'm thinking, what's going on? And the captain or the pilot comes on and says, "Oh yeah, just having some mechanical difficulties with the water." And then the next thing you know, there's a mechanical issue with the one of the engines. And then they're trying to decide if we can fly to Germany with one less engine. And like they actually like taxi us out to take off, and then we stop, and then we return back to the gate. And I'm thinking, I want off the plane, I want off the plane. So finally I like flagged down one of the stewards and I was like, "I really want off the plane." And he's all like, "Well, if you want off the plane, then we have to offload your luggage, and then that'll put the flight behind another 2 hours." And so he's like, "Why don't you come and just breathe some fresh air, and then this will be organized and we'll take off." And I was like, okay. So I get out and I sit they opened up the doors and stuff so I could breathe some fresh air. And I'm still like, I want off the plane. Then this other young girl, I was 24 when this happened or so. This other girl who was about my age started talking to the stewards, "I want off the plane too." So then the pilot apparently hears about this and he's like, "Okay, let these 2 girls off and then they can always get back on." 6 hours later, people are streaming off the plane and we find out that the flight's being grounded. And then the pilot calls us back onto the plane. I'm thinking, I don't want to get back on this plane. I don't want on this plane. But we go back on the plane and he comes to speak with us and says, "You knew before anyone else that this flight was not supposed to leave the ground. Always listen to your intuition."
That
So
is powerful.
I was like, this is a KLM pilot telling me this. Like, pretty interesting. So something to really take to heart, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's,
The
yeah.
sun coming out now. Oh my gosh, now I have shadows. We
I
had like clouds all day long.
know. Yeah,
Now the
you
sun is
yes, you have and you have that beautiful display right behind you as well. So it's radiating, it's adding to the light. I mean, you work with light codes, right?
yes, yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. Um, and actually, let's maybe talk a little bit about the light codes and how you came to understand them. And because you know, like you started off with just like these stories of learning your awareness of, you know, I don't want to get on that plane and things like that. But something like working with light codes and energy and then the fractaline healing, like how did all of that come to be? You know, how did you discover all of that?
Well, I've always felt I was a spiritual person. I always had an interest in like crystals and spirit guides and stuff like that. Um, the way that light codes, like what you see behind me, started was actually I had this very vivid dream, and then when I woke up out of this very vivid dream, I literally saw silver codes floating around my room. And I was like, holy crap, like what is this? You know, and I wrote them down, because by that point I had had enough experience that when you wake up from a strange dream, like it's good to write the dream down, because you don't know what might be really good information in that for us to review at some point. So and what I've also come to learn is that's often spirit trying to get us a message, and if we don't pay attention to that, then we're going to get it more or in other ways or something. So it's better just to get up and write the story down, and then you can go back to sleep. So I wrote down the dream and I drew the symbols, and that's kind of how it all started. And then it evolved from there. And suddenly they were popping up all over the place. Like I'd be having a conversation with someone, and I would see, actually it was on this side, I'd see a symbol kind of back somehow. And instead of doing laying on of hands type of energy healing, which is my training, I would say, do you want me to draw this symbol that I'm seeing to support you? And this would be like in a coffee shop. And every time the people said, yes, please, like it was totally normal, completely normal. And magically, there was always pen and paper around. You know how hard it is sometimes to find pen and paper? No, this was never a problem. We always had pen and paper. They always said yes, like it was totally normal. And I would draw the symbol, take a picture with my phone. They'd get the original, and I'd keep the photo. And these symbols later became the Little Book of Light Codes. But yeah, that was sort of how it all kind of started, was just literally waking out of a dream. But I do remember being a child and speaking in what a lot of adults would call gibberish. Now I do it professionally.
That is
because
awesome.
it actually turns out to be light language.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. So when you are speaking in gibberish, like are you aware of what you're saying, or are you just kind of letting sound come out organically, or what's that like?
I can translate it. Yeah, I can translate it. And it's interesting because there is a lot of controversy out there about whether or not light language is a real thing, especially when you're speaking it. When you see the lines behind me, like all these, the squiggles and everything, or those that are in the Little Book of Light Codes, you can look at that and you can get, a lot of people get sensations of some kind, or they get visions, or there's all kinds of amazing things people can experience when they look at it. But there's something about the sound too that adds just another dimension, because it's sound and you're actually hearing it, whereas these are emitting a sound that we're not really able to hear because it's, you know, drawn. So we're not like accustomed to taking in on that level. But light language has to come from the heart. And if it's not coming from the heart, then it's not the very best. And we should be able to translate it. So you are very aware of what is coming out of you. And that's the difference between someone who really is an authentic channel and someone who's playing, you know, and they might really be an authentic channel, but they just haven't developed the full skills yet. And it's in that I guess process that we just need to be aware of who we're sharing it with, even, because you never know, everything is energy. And so we just need to be really mindful and respectful and as conscious as possible. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, because it was the question was, you know, where did it originate from? And it sounds like it came from a dream.
Yep.
And it sounds like you kind of automatically know what they mean when you see them. Like there's just a knowing.
Well, especially when I've channeled it. So if it's come through someone else, I can tell if it's clean, if it's a clean code or not. And certainly same with signing and same with speaking. Like I can go back and see, even because I just started speaking, I was a little bit timid about speaking because, again, I had the memory of being a child and that it's just gibberish. So it took me a little bit this year. I only started speaking it and it was rusty. So I can actually go back and look at some of those videos that I posted on TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. But now I'm at a whole nother level with it because I'm really like tuned in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before, when you were practicing or trying to get back into it, it wasn't like, it sounds like you were thinking about it more than letting it flow. You were in your head.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It really is a good way to put it. And you know, and things take practice, just like when we're tuning into our intuition. It takes practice to do that. And it's a bit of that trial and error. And you just keep trying and you keep like feeling into your heart space. And if you are feeling into your heart space, you really can't go wrong. And like you say, I was thinking about it too much instead of being in my heart. So
yeah, that's so cool. So I'm just so curious about this. Because I've never heard of light codes in this way before. So for example, when you're sitting with someone at the coffee shop and you suddenly see a symbol and you share it with them, how do they interpret it? Like, do they know what it means, or do you usually kind of give some guidance based on like your knowledge of the light codes?
I would say that how it comes forward, how the codes come forward, is we're talking about a topic that a person is struggling with. So there's already a topic concept. And then I draw the code, and then the person would see it and they go, oh yeah, mm-hmm. And like it kind of makes sense to them, and then they can feel, oh, that's really supportive with this. Like if they didn't have the context of we've just had this conversation and we're struggling with X, then it would be harder for people to articulate what the code is resonating within them, I guess is a good way to say it. So these light codes are a vast amount of information, massive. I mean, it's literally light, which contains all knowledge, all wisdom, all things known and unknown. And it's condensing the light into a form that we can recognize. But how do you condense light? How can you really condense light? So it's so multi-layered that actually to put language to it is doing it a disservice. That being said, our brains needs something to grasp onto. Otherwise, you're going to get the monkey brain and will be really uncomfortable. So we give it that topic. We help the people out to understand, okay, this is the general theme. The more in tune you get intuitively and with your heart center, the more you're going to be able to look at a code and know its general topic and how that can or cannot, or in whatever way it's going to relate to you. So a person who is not in touch with their intuition really needs the help of a description. A person who is more in touch with their intuition won't need the description as much as it is a confirmation for them.
Okay. Yeah. That's so awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So the light code kind of appears to show up as validation and confirmation for them, as like if they've figured out, if they have a thought about like what could help the situation, could that be an example?
So if you have someone who is, let's say they want to connect with their higher self better, okay, then we can draw a code that will help that person with their unique situation as the individual that they are, as their amazing expression, connect with their higher self. Then someone else might come along and see that same code and know, okay, yes, this is going to help connect me to my higher self, but it doesn't necessarily resonate 100% as it did with the person who it was originally drawn for. So because they contain so much information. So I know it's a really abstract thing for us to wrap our brains around, because it is, there isn't really a limit to it. And we look to contain things in boxes, and you just can't do that with these codes. Which is a really good thing, because it does open our mind, it does expand our minds, and it does expand our ability to look at things in multiple directions, which helps us navigate our life better.
Yeah. Great.
So if we go back to that example of the higher self, so if you're looking for a code to help connect with your higher self, that same code is going to help other people, but it's connect to their higher selves, but it's going to help them in a slightly different way than how it helped you, because you're a unique individual. I'm a unique individual. Your viewers are unique individuals.
Right. That's awesome. So that it's individual, really. That's so cool.
It's amazing, because each code tailors the energy for the person looking at it.
Yeah.
Because it's like the double split experiment that lots of spiritualists love to talk about, because it confirms so much of what we believe in and what consciousness is. When we look at something, that's when it kind of comes together. So, and I really encourage people to look that up. There's lots of videos on YouTube on the double split experiment. And it is very widely known and respected as a legitimate quantum physics experiment. And so this is the consciousness that matters. So your individual consciousness looking at a code is what matters.
Yeah. That actually, and I'm hoping this is making sense for the viewers as well. I know for me that helps, because I've heard that before, where your focus goes, energy flows, kind of thing. Totally. And so looking at it and being present with it with your energy, I can see how that makes a huge difference as you're looking at these codes.
Yeah, and the really interesting thing is that the codes are emitting a frequency all the time. So like, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but there we go. Oh. So this is one of the oracle cards from the Little Book of Light codes. I have it next to me. It is emitting, whether I'm looking at it or not, if I connect with that consciously, as in I meditate on it, I feel it, you know, however it is that I'm going to connect with it, that's even better, because the more conscious we are, the better. Is like you say, where you focus is where the energy flows. But if you have that up, say in your office space, and you have your coworker walking past, they might not have any idea what that is, but their energetic self is going to recognize it on that subconscious level, and they will, if it's in their highest good, take that on and work with the information. If it is not for them, if it is not in their highest good, it'll be like it never happened.
Yeah.
So they are, when you have a light code that is truly a light code, it is of full honor, integrity, of free will, of in the highest good for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's an expression of the light. It's love.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And well, that's one of the beliefs that I hold, is that like that source, you know, whatever you call it, the essence of creation and the universe and everything, is basically, it's made of love. Like creation is made of love. It's made of light. It's all one thing, you know. So that really, I love that, because that message really resonates. And I love the idea that the light codes are a frequency, because everything is energy, and that frequency is helping us, it sounds like, to realign, you know, like energetically, it's shifting our own frequencies. And I know that that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah. And it's a very gentle way to do it, because it's just visual, but at the same time it's really potent. So the really cool thing is that with other healing modalities, they sometimes the body isn't ready, willing, or able to receive whatever the healing is, and so it can be abrupt to the system. It can be hard on the system, even though it's coming from a really amazing place. With the codes, it's all about the energies, whether you're aware of it or not, are working together. There's this interplay. So it is very gentle, because the energy itself is respecting wherever the viewer is, wherever you are looking at the code. So if you are a total, like, I have no idea what these are, I've never done any healing work, I'm a total beginner, this is just interesting to me, and you've maybe have a really rough childhood, and there's lots of things that maybe that would really benefit you to heal, but you're like, I don't know about opening those doors, because that could be Pandora's box. you know. You know, these codes will work with you from that space and be very gentle and respectful of all of that. And then as you slowly but surely peel the onion, they go with you and they help you in that very gentle way open things up, so that it isn't an abrupt assault on the system. So as a very sensitive person, I know what it's like when you go for a healing session and the body freaks out. Yeah. And it is not fun.
Yeah.
I never had that happen with light codes.
Oh, so amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And how is this related to the Fractaline healing that you do? Because that's a new technique that you developed over several years, right? Yeah.
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 So Fractaline came to me when I was awoken from another dream. Spirit woke me up at 4 a.m. and was like, get out of bed. And I was just like vibrating with so much energy. And I got up and I went to the spot in my little flat where I meditate, and just started writing like crazy. And it was the beginning of Fractaline healing. And so Fractaline is, I made up the word because it's a fractal but it's also like a crystalline type structure, because of how it looks to me. So it looks like crystal glass that, like, you, if we know, when you shine a light through crystal, you have the prism of colors.
Yeah.
You have the whole array of colors, but it's still kind of translucent. That's what the structure looks like. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm obviously a visual person, as you probably guessed from being able to draw codes. So I can see things like that. People who have gone into it just feel, who don't see necessarily, they might just see like the darkness of their eyelids, because it is a meditation process. They feel it. They feel the array of colors, and it's how you interact. Your special and unique gifts and talents is how you're going to perceive it. But that's how it got its name, Fractaline. And the light codes are in there only because everything is made of light codes. Our whole universe is in part made of light codes, because again, the light codes are the language of light, and light is all of it.
Yeah.
So everything is coming from light. So that's how I can say, although the light codes are in there. And if you're conscious of the light codes, let's say you've worked with the Little Book of Light Codes, or you've worked with light codes for the soul, you can call those symbols to mind and consciously work with them in Fractaline healing. Because as soon as you've seen a light code, it's with you. You might not remember what it was called. You might not remember what it does. You might go, oh, I think there was a code for that. And that's all it takes for it to come forward. So, because it's on a soul level, it's on your higher self and soul level. It's literally, these codes are like the language of the soul. So, yeah, Fractaline. Fractaline is like a multi-dimensional healing platform. So it's a meditation, and we go very, very deep, and it is absolutely beautiful. It is very healing. It aligns the chakras. It puts the etheric body, which is like the perfect energy body, in alignment with the physical body. We actually stay very present and grounded in our bodies when we go into this meditative state. There's a lot of meditations where you get, actually, it's almost like you're out of body. But this one, you stay very present in your body, because that way any shifts that occur in this space are actually occurring in your physical body, which is the whole point, and then it's done in stages. So there's like level 1, and you can do a lot with level 1. I mean, it took me probably a year and a half before I even realized there was a level 2, just because there was so much to play with in level 1. And it was so profound, as you can do shadow work there, you can heal others there, you can do so much of your own physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignments and healings in this section. And then I discovered, oh, there's a level 2. Oh, and there's a level 3. And oh, there's a level 4. And level 4 is pretty much where it ends, except that now you're really in this amazing infinite realm, and I don't know why you'd ever want to go anywhere else anyway. Once you get to that stage. But that's how each level feels. It's like, why do you need to go any further? This is incredible. So it's really amazing. So we have a book coming out in January. I don't have an official launch date, but January 2021 is when this book will be available, and it walks you through the steps. And then we will also come out with some online courses to help people implement all these different levels and the strategies and the things you can do inside it, because it really is limitless. You're playing in the quantum playground.
Wow. That sounds amazing. I feel like I want to do it. Yeah.
It is so much fun.
Yes, it sounds fun. It sounds super relaxing, and it's so inviting. Does each level have like a name, or a
Yeah.
theme that you would typically work on for each level?
Yeah, so the first level I'm calling the grid, and that's like the entrance. So you will see like a grid forming before you, and that's what's really that crystalline kind of structure. And then you can go inside the grid, and that's where all the magic really starts to happen. In the grid, then that's where you get the chakra alignment, you get the etheric and physical body alignment. There's this thing called the golden sphere that comes and does like this amazing healing on you that is amazing every time. And actually, most times that I turn to see the sphere come to me, I cry. It's like it came back. It came back again. It came back again, like every time. And it's so amazing to me. It really is, to me, that beautiful. And I hope that when others, the people that I've taken through it, get that similar experience, but I'm really hoping that translates to the broader audience, that they get to experience that kind of love and support, because it's profound. And then you can do your shadow work there. You can do distance healing there. You can, I can look inside my body and shift things. Is weird. You can look inside from outside. It's a really interesting thing. But that's my experience. And, you know, each person gets to have their own amazing experience, and it's all good and it's all right. Everything that happens in this space, and the spaces going forward as well, but in Fractaline in general, must be of integrity. So if you can try to do something that's not in integrity, and it won't work. So it's really good that there are these safeguards in place, because we can try to do something that's out of integrity, actually out of innocence. So we don't want to be causing any harm to ourselves or others. We're good people for the most part. There's a few that are in it, but for the most part, people are really good and they don't want to be causing trouble. So these safeguards are in place. And then the next level is called the platform. And this is where we can really put a lot of energy behind manifestation. So this is pretty much what the platform is used for. And again, we can only manifest things that are in absolute alignment for us, and in our highest good, and in the highest good for others, and in full honor and integrity and all that good stuff. So again, if we try to say we want to have a relationship with somebody, right? And we're like, I love this person so much and they don't even know I exist. but I feel like we should be together. I just know it, right? How many times does that happen?
I'm sure our viewers could relate.
Yes. Once or twice, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're female. You're like swiping on Tinder or something, and you're like, oh my God. But anyway, so you can put forward on the platform that you want to have a relationship with this person. But let's say that even though we have all the amazing feelings behind this happening, actually that's not what's supposed to happen. And if we did create that, it could be causing a whole slew of issues that we couldn't even conceive of. That sort of thing is in innocence, because we feel it in our heart, oh, this would be really good, really good. But it's not. Actually, in the broader realm and the broader way of viewing everything. So we can't always see that from our limited vision.
Yeah.
Where we stand is limited. Our soul has the broader view, and even our soul kind of doesn't always get things right all the time. But this Fractaline healing platform area will prevent us from making a mistake like that and incurring more karma and things like that. So that's, like I said, that's an innocent mistake and isn't something to worry about. So
awesome. Awesome, awesome. Oh my goodness, you've given us so much.
So that's 2
Wow.
levels.
Yeah, that's only two. There's two
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one is like a great big sun, which is like unbelievable. And then we can actually go inside the sun for level 4.
Wow.
And those are like, there's some description for level 3, which is where we're viewing the sun, but there's very little, because by the time you can make your way to this place, you don't need my direction at all. So the first level, which is the grid, you'll work in there for a while. When your soul, your higher self decides that it is appropriate for you to move on, you will gain access to the platform level 2. When you've done enough work with the platform and the grid, and sometimes we need to spend more time there, once we're good and ready, then the area where we can go to the sun will present itself. And then when we are ready to go inside the sun for level 4, that will become an option. And there is no description of the inside of the sun, because that is 100% unique to each person. And so I don't want to get in the way of everybody's individual experience with that. I don't want to plant any ideas. That is your space, your sacred space. But we have to be ready to go there. And so that's why, we do these kind of stages. And I tell you what, I spend most of my time in the grid. Only occasionally do I go to the platform, because I've kind of come to the place where, like, let's just be happy with what we have. What do we need to go and put energy behind to manifest? What do we really need to manifest? There's the odd thing that maybe we want to bring into a better alignment, so we want to put energy behind that. But otherwise, I'm in the grid. I mean, it's cool there. It's like really awesome. So don't think that level 4 is better than level 1, because it's not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And how about like you've worked with people in this way with your Fractaline healing? What have been, of course, like with like honoring their privacy, but what have been some of their experiences that have happened as a result of going through this healing work with you?
For sure. Well, for the most part, I'm doing it distantly. I can do it kind of in person, but it's, I don't know, like I'm going into a meditative state. So like if we're doing it over Zoom or we're doing it in person, then I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go to into the system now, just take a few, take some deep breaths, meditate, chill out, whatever, right? If this is the case, people every single time, I haven't had one person tell me otherwise yet, that they feel very warm and supported and comforted, almost like they're kind of floating, but in like a cocoon. Like it's a really beautiful kind of sensation for them. If I'm doing it just distance, like say for example, someone's in Germany or they're in Australia or New Zealand or something, that's like a way different time zone to me. Often I'm treating them when they're asleep. And that's really powerful too, because then they wake up in the morning and have experienced some absolutely incredible shifts. So like I did have someone who I treated in the night, and their issue was they had an infection in their arm, and they were a doctor, and they had been put on antibiotics for the infection, and she asked me to treat it, so I did. And she woke up the next day and she said, antibiotics don't work that fast. I was like, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a good response. Yeah, and then I've had people again, another one in Europe. He's American, but he had flown over to Europe, and on the flight, he had really, his ankles had really blown up, like really bad. And like the lymph system was just totally overwhelmed, and it just wasn't circulating. So it was to the point where he had taken his shoes off on the plane. He couldn't get his shoes back on. He couldn't hardly walk. It was so painful having like that much inflammation in the feet and ankles and lower leg. So it was a real bummer for his trip, because here he is like trying to sightsee and do fun things, and he can barely walk. So he hadn't had that much energy healing before, certainly never had distance healing, but he was desperate. So I was like, well, sure, well, we'll try, we'll see what happens, right? And so I treated him, and he got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and he realized he could walk. And in the morning, he told his wife, like, look at my legs, and his swelling was gone.
Oh, wow.
So, and he'd had several days, actually. Like, it wasn't even like, oh, they landed and had a day, and so, okay, just took a day for it to, get back going. No, it was like 3 days, and there was no shift. And then overnight with the treatment, suddenly he's fine.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Sort of some cool things like that. And then we've had really awesome ones with more like a spiritual tone to them. So people who are looking to connect more with their higher selves, or they're looking for inspiration, like they feel like they've been really, I don't know, their inspiration's being dampened in their creativity, and they want their creativity back. And so, do a treatment to kind of bring some things into better alignment and shift some stuff, and the creativity came back, and they felt really good. So, like, all different levels. It can be mental stuff, it can be emotional stuff, physical and spiritual. Although I have to put in the disclaimer that I am not a doctor, and I'm not treating anything, and I am not diagnosing anything.
Right,
No.
right.
If you have an issue, consult your practitioner that's qualified.
Yeah. Those legalities are really important, and
they are.
Yeah.
We do not diagnose and treat. Nope.
Right. And yet, like, there's no claims being made, of course.
No.
But you can't argue with those testimonials. I mean, those results are powerful. We're talking about like physical changes happening in the body in a nap time, like in a matter of hours. And that's really, really powerful. And it's not something that Western medicine would understand necessarily.
Yeah, and you could even make the argument, well, like, oh, well, they just believed it would help. Well, in the case certainly of the blown up legs, there was no belief system there that would support such a healing. Like, that was a long shot to them.
Yeah.
And they were asleep.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. So powerful, so powerful. I'm really glad that you came up with this new modality, because it's clearly packing a powerful punch. It's clearly producing some amazing results. So I'm super excited about that. And actually, this is part of your gift for the audience as well, is 20% off a distance healing session with Fractaline Healing.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah, that is so incredibly generous of you, because your time and your energy. I know that it takes energy to do the energy work with people. So for you to be willing to provide that 20% off for the viewers, I mean, that's just so generous and so special. And I would encourage everyone to, check the link out and get in touch with Laara, because these are powerful. These are powerful results. that, whatever it is that if you have an issue, give it a try, because I think everyone could use this kind of healing, especially this year, especially now, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you are just interested in experiencing Fractaline for yourself without, having to have a session with me or something, we do have 2 videos on YouTube. One video is explaining what Fractaline is. Please watch that first, because you're being taken through a meditation to a specific location in the quantum field. So it's good to know what it looks like, what you're going to experience, that there's nothing to be afraid of, all that really good stuff. So watch that first. And then there's a video that follows it that is the actual guided meditation into the system. And that's just taking you, just grazing the surface of it, but you get to experience at least the space. And then we'll have more detailed video courses coming later.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually that's how I discovered you, was on YouTube. I saw your I saw some of your videos and was like, oh, this girl, this sounds awesome. So yes, yeah, that's amazing, so amazing.
Yeah. Well, and if your audience is interested in some, I do a lot of videos on TikTok as well that are essentially light language blessings. So this is really short, right? TikTok is short, so that's really easy. And then some of those end up on my Instagram as well. So that's a really good, just easy blessing and clearing. And I mean, people tend to feel a lot calmer after they've watched something. And
Yeah. So great, so great. Oh my goodness, Laara, it's been such a joy just chatting with you and learning so much. I feel like we've only hit like the tip of the iceberg here. There's so much wisdom that you have to share with us, but it's just been incredible, and I'm so thankful that you've been able to take the time and share all of that with us about your journey through discovering your intuition and creating these um, ways of healing, discovering the light codes, and going to a place where you're able to really make a difference for people, which is just so special. Yeah.
Aw, thank you so much. Yeah. Tuition's important. Yeah. And whatever it takes to develop it and trust it and believe in it, like, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. Do we before we sign off for this one, do you have any like last minute tips or tricks that you would want to share with the audience um, to tune in, to enhance our skills as we are tuning into our intuition and really honing that for each of us?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can tell you like some of the things that I did that helped to confirm things for me. So certainly, like, I have used pendulums. That was a good way. That was how I started. I've since rarely used pendulums now, but that's something that people tend to like because it is a crystal and people like crystals. So that can be really helpful. Muscle testing, learning how to muscle test yourself is very helpful. It's good confirmations. You can ask all kinds of things also, and it's just with yourself. You can use like loop your fingers like this, and you could say like, oh, my name is Laara, and then you pull, and if that's strong, that's a positive, and then, oh, my name is Sarah, and it comes apart really
Oh,
easily.
wow.
That would be the negative response, right?
Okay.
So you can do that with literally anything. It could be anything from, should I buy this property? To, is this the right supplement for me to take today? How many of these supplements should I take today? Things like that. So it can be a really broad spectrum of questions that you can, and answers that you can receive. And that, what you'll find is as you use these tools, you'll start getting an answer before you get the answer.
Okay.
And that's how you can really develop and then you don't need it anymore. Unless you're like questioning yourself, then that's where this can really help, or the pendulum can really help. Yeah, I use the muscle testing probably the most. If you don't like an answer, you can only ask so many times, or you will start getting the answer that you like, which is not the right answer. So ask the question. If you get the feeling like that didn't seem right, then you can ask again. If you get the same answer again, best to drop it, come back tomorrow and ask again. If you get a different answer, now you've had one of each. So now it's like 50-50 and you're like, well, that doesn't really help. So ask again. Whatever the third one is, run with. Until you're shown or told or whatever otherwise. Wait till the next day to ask again. Or give it some time or some space, and check how much you're wanting it, because our want is a powerful force, and that can be playing a role in what our answers are. So then the last one that I say is actually breathing in and out through our heart space. So if you place your hand over your heart and you focus on this space while you breathe, and imagine your inhale, you're breathing into your heart, and then your exhale, you're breathing out of your heart. And then once you're used to doing this, you can ask questions of your heart, because you're connected to your heart. And this is the most powerful way to do it. And if you can do that before you do this, or use the pendulum or something like that, then you're really going to get accurate answers, because it's the heart that really knows. It's the heart that has, this is like my quote, the heart has access to the soul. So I always say, when you have access to your heart, you have access to your soul. So anything you can do to be promoting connecting with our heart is the key, in my opinion, to intuition. And when we can't listen to our heart, the next one's the gut. So the gut feeling comes when we haven't listened to our heart.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the heart's more subtle.
Yeah.
The heart's more subtle. Yeah. But the other thing that I can offer you guys is a light language blessing for your intuition.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So we could do a topic of connecting, strengthening, and trusting the development of our intuition. How does that sound as a topic?
That sounds beautiful.
All right, I'll just back up a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to speak light language, and I'm going to sign light language. If you've never heard light language spoken before, it can be a little bit funny, but just know that this is coming from my heart space. It is coming from my love. And all you need to do is breathe and witness it. Literally, that's all you have to do. And then the signs are to help bring that energy through in a secondary way. Okay. Yakuru sokopaya kana sanakatoro paya. Ladata zaruku sanagagia kamatanata zana. Hosakama tatasataki yatanamo payatatusruho payatanamoka. Keep breathing. Oh no sokodiata tazarana natas do sekapaya. Lotatkata, Sokeda, Sanakada, Sakadiga, Maishatka, Wapayoto Ho Sonaka, Lata Sanayana, Yatsakos Maya Totoso Matro, Bayakakaha, Lata Sanakatet, Kramotisama, Payasanoyama. Holotono, Hanotono, Hanatayoko Mantata. Soko Hanatsanama Yananaza Halatana Halatana Yatanama Halatana Shaka Yono Soma Yonokomayata sana. Hanata hayanama yodas roba yado. Jonoko, Jonoko, Shonoko, 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 Shopaya. So halatamo. This is so you can speak your truth. Open the crown, open the third eye, open the throat center so you can speak what's coming through from your higher self, from your authentic self, from your soul. We're connecting this energy now to the heart space, clearing the channel for the heart. Keep breathing. Try feeling your feet now as you breathe. Keep breathing and feel your feet. Aloto soyota mahya hasanako. So konokonoko, sonokorko, sonokorko, sonokorko. Allowing your intuition to rise within you. Hasanakana sona hanatasadega bayatatasanaga yadasadakalaga, and allow it to be a most joyful experience. Ladada surko anakoto soko bayatonoko. Blessings.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I think that's a great place to end. and thank you once again, Laara, for your gift and your blessing. And to the viewers, we are so glad you were able to join us for this interview and learn to tune into your heart with us. If you haven't yet, be sure to join our Facebook group for this summit so that you can connect with other like-minded individuals and get some support from one another. And absolutely check out Laara's YouTube channel and her gift of 20% off to all of us, because it's so beautiful. So thank you once again for joining us, and many blessings.